5 tips to stay in ketosis through the holidays. Do you know that the average person gains over 10 pounds? Over 10 pounds through the holidays. Don't be average. Be extraordinary. Don't gain more. It means don't gain any or even lose body fat. But most importantly, stay healthy, have fun, and enjoy the holidays. So the 5 tips that I have are really, really simple, and they're super, super effective. The question comes down to, are you going to do them or not? So number 1 tip is meal plan. I'm not a huge meal prepper, meal planner, but during the holidays, I think it's super, super, super important. Number 2 tip is really, really simple. It's get creative with low carb or keto friendly desserts, because those are the things that usually get you in trouble. And I'm going to give you some tips around that. Number 3, exercise. Exercise is a great way. If you do end up having more carbohydrates, you can burn it off through physical exertion. Number 4 is fasting, using fasting strategies, which I'll talk about. And then number 5 is exogenous ketones and just supplementing with ketones while you're going through this journey. So let's go down to number 1, meal prepping. So when you meal prep, the key here on meal prepping is plan ahead, because you know that in holiday seasons, what happens is there's busy, you get some external stresses. So on Sundays ideally, prep for the week. Know what you're going to have. Maybe you just have your lunches prepped or your dinners prepped. Have something that's filling the gap so that you only have to focus on one meal. And this will relieve the stress. Yeah, it takes 1 day to prep, but this is the great thing about being low carb is there's a lot of really cool ideas out there, recipes out there that you can do. We do take a muffin tin and make little egg bakes. You can also buy them at the grocery store for an exorbitant amount of money, or you can make your own. And you have 12 little mini quiches, let's call them, or low carb or keto friendly quiches that you can use as a tool when you're in a bind. Maybe it's that you get your little containers out and you prep your meals for the week. What I like to do, I'm not a huge meal prepper in a sense that it kind of stresses me out in itself. I like to do one meal. So I might prep 3 or 4 days in a row, but just have one meal. So if it's my first meal of the day, if it's a second meal day, or my third meal of the day. If you notice, I didn't say breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I go by meals of the day. I usually have at least 2 meals a day, often 3 meals a day, and it varies based off of some of my fasting strategies. And so I'll talk about that in a second. So meal prepping is really important if you want to prepare yourself for the holidays and the madness that can come along with that. But that leads me into number 2, and that is be creative with your desserts. I could even say your carb-based meals or during the holiday times. It's not Thanksgiving or Christmas or the holiday party that gets you in trouble. It's the days after that. But for some of you out there, it's like as soon as you get a taste of sweet pie, you just get obsessed cravings, and the next day and the next day and the next day, and it becomes obsessive. So what you can do in return of that is, I like pumpkin pie. I'm a huge pumpkin pie nut. It's really simple to make a low carb. It may not be even full-blown keto, but just a really good low carb pumpkin pie. And it's super delicious. You can even do it with an apple pie. You can make it way less carbs. It may not be keto, but just way less carbs. And what that does is that the next day when you wake up, even if you end up having an extra slice of pie, you're not going to go into this tailspin of just crazy sugar crashes and you just want to eat it and eat it and eat it, especially if you're new to this ketogenic world or ketogenic lifestyle or even just low carb living. So find alternatives. You can use alternative sweeteners like allulose or erythritol or monk fruit. Even if you're okay with it, you could use things like Splenda. Do I recommend these things all the time? I don't. I think they're very situational. I don't think they should be all the time. But in these situations, it's the alternative is binge eating on a bunch of crap, or have these alternative sweeteners, which I think are great for the most part and can be utilized. Some may be better than others, but at the end of the day, I don't think if it's consumed all the time, science has shown us that it doesn't really matter. It's pretty clear on those sides of things. So when it comes to like potatoes and mashed potatoes and like your breads and things like that, we've gotten really good at cauliflower rice. Now it took us a while. It wasn't quite the same, but we've gotten really good at that. But there's some things you can do. Maybe you have it. Maybe you're like, hey, I'm going to have a small portion. I'm not going to stop myself on those days. But you have the awareness in your meal prepping for the next day that you're basically allowing yourself a little flexibility. Does that mean you're going to be out of ketosis? Quite possibly. Unless you're supplementing like I do now, you're going to be out of ketosis. But we can just do it momentarily. And this is where exercise becomes important. Because when you increase your carbohydrates, your body's going to store some of that glucose. Depends on what you have. And you can use those stores up by exercising. In this situation, what I'd recommend is you can exercise before, if possible, and then exercise after. What depends on how much carbs you have. You're going to want to exercise at a higher intensity or longer to deplenish those carbohydrate stores out of your body. So that can take some time. It might take a few days to get that back out of your system, but exercise is very strategic. I'm a big fan of whatever exercise you like to do that. I'm biased towards weight training, but at the end of the day, if you're not going to go and do it and push it, then you're probably not going to get the most out of it. Same thing with HIIT training. A lot of people are trying to do this interval HIIT training, but if they're not going to push the extreme of the intensity, you may not get as much out of it than just going for a 45-minute bike ride at a good intensity where you can barely breathe and you're kind of breathing, but you kind of can say a couple words. That's a really good place to be. So at the end of the day, pick something that you can consistently do and do it more often in the holiday season, and that'll help keep those stores down so that you can keep your ketone levels up. But that goes to number 4. What I found is that, and literally over the last 8 years we've been teaching this, between 4 and 5 we've been teaching this new strategy, and that's fasting. So what you can do, if you're not already, is do intermittent fasting. Now, if you get to know me, I don't actually intermittent fast all the time. I do them kind of like bunches. I might do it 5 days in a row. I might do it 2 days on, 1 day off. I like to sprinkle it up. For me, the reason why is my protein can get low if I fast too much, and that's not good for me. I need my protein levels up higher. And when I'm limiting my time in eating window, my protein sometimes gets too low, so I have to increase a meal. Now, I still might fast, right? I might just eat at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. instead of at 6 a.m. So I'm still fasting. I'm just adding an extra meal in to get my protein content up. I may also supplement with a protein infused with ketones to help keep my protein levels up that way, some branching amino acids. So I utilize some strategies for that. But fasting can be a really creative thing. You could do a 24-hour fast. You could do intermittent fasting. Here's a really cool strategy you could do is before Thanksgiving, what you're going to do is you start intermittent fasting. Each week, you would do a 1-hour fast. And so you do like 1 day, a 24-hour fast. So you fast for a whole 24 hours. So you eat on Sunday night, dinner, low carb, and then you fast until Monday night. During Monday, go out and get active. You may not over abuse your body physically, but go out and get active. Stay as active as you can, and it's going to really deplete down that glucose. Make sure you have a really good protein meal the night before, and when you break your fast, have a high-quality protein meal with some low-carb vegetables, and then go right into intermittent fasting. And then what you can do a couple times through it, you could even extend it. Instead of doing 24, you could go a 48-hour. But I wouldn't do that off weekly. I would do that maybe once a month, even as far as 60 hours, which means that you would eat on Sunday night at, let's say, 6 o'clock, and then you don't eat again until Wednesday morning. And so you go to Monday and Tuesday with no food, and then you go Wednesday morning, you'd have a meal. So that's a great way to extend the fast. I actually use a kit to do the 60-hour because I like supporting on that with my number 5 tip. So number 5 is exogenous ketones. My favorite ones, the one I use, is right here. And then I like my keto cream. Keto cream has MCT oils in it and has some other really cool collagen and some just really good healthy fats. So it helps me stay in ketosis, get ketones through the MCTs, but also I just feel more satiated, and it helps with my sweet tooth. But the exogenous ketones, the keto nat that I use, it's the only product I would recommend. That is unbelievable because it helps with the sugar cravings, helps with the carb cravings, but I have a little secret weapon I use it for. What I do is right before you're going to a holiday party, you have your exogenous ketones. You have them right before. Now, it's really important that they have to be at a therapeutic level. The reason why is that if they're not at a high enough level, typically you're not going to get enough of an effect to stop you from what's going to happen. So what I recommend is right before you go to your holiday party, or when you know that you're going to be exposed to carbohydrates, or you know that you're allowing yourself to go a little bit more traditional food route, less low carb or less keto friendly foods, have your ketones about an hour before. What it's going to do is your appetite's going to be more satiated. You're less likely to binge eat. So you might have a piece of pie, just not 2 or 3. You might have some potatoes, but it's not a lot. You're going to feel way more satiated, and you're going to feel good. You're not going to have this huge crash after consuming this glucose and carbohydrates. Then what I like to do is, if you can, have another one on the way home. So now you're putting exogenous ketones back in your system so that when you wake up the next day, you're not going to be in this crazy binging mode, and then we supplement again with exogenous ketones right in the morning. And so what's happening is we're kind of buffering ourselves. So we're allowing the supplement to give us ketones through the holidays. And now you have glucose and ketones present, which is fine. Your body's either going to store the glucose or use it, right? Same as it always would, but now it gets to also use the ketones. And when you're in ketosis, you naturally have less cravings. You tend to be more satiated. Tend to be more mental clarity and focus. Your energy levels are good. So now you're back in a good state, especially if you're somebody that's metabolically challenged, meaning that when you eat something, your body reacts a lot to it. You have carbs and sugars, you might crash, or you might just get tired, or you start craving more of them. If you're that type of person, you're more likely to sabotage this journey. The exogenous ketones is a great tool to basically stop you from being you in that extreme world and allow you to make the right decisions, the better decisions. And then it builds momentum. So now you're not only able to maintain your weight or your body's physique and your health through the holidays, you might even be able to lose some body fat if we tie it all together. If you add all these together, we've now, over the last 8+ years, helped hundreds of thousands of people lose body fat through the holidays, but enjoy the holidays. And that's super, super important. And if you can do both, it's really, really special. To me, the best time in the world to go through a health transformation is actually through the holidays. Because if you can do it then and enjoy yourself, the new year is easy. The rest of the year is simple because there's not nearly as complicated. Maybe a couple of weeks in the summer it is, but not nearly as complicated as during the holiday season. So I like to tie all 5 of these together, right? So prepare at least one meal for the week, one meal a day, just to set yourself up for success. So now you only have to really make a decision on, if you're fasting, you only have to make a decision on one other meal, right? Or maybe another protein source. Number 2, get out there, start looking up recipes that are low carb recipes of your favorite recipes. Have fun with them. Maybe try a few in advance before Thanksgiving. Make it really good. Practice. Become a steward of this, because it's really, you'll be surprised how good you can make it, and it can really take the edge off for you to enjoy yourself if you're choosing not to have a small proportions of those other foods. And then number 3, exercise. Get out, move. Holidays, I like to say add 5 or 10. But the truth is, if you really want to maximize this, you probably should do a little bit more than that. Meaning add 5 or 10 minutes to whatever you do. If you do nothing, add 5 or 10 minutes to exercise. Walking, running, biking, working out, weight training, dancing, whatever it might be. If you're currently exercising, add 5 or 10 minutes longer. Just add 5 or 10 minutes longer. And that'll add up over the whole next 2 months, over the holiday season. It'll add up, it'll add up, it'll add up, and it'll give you more to play with and more to more basically you're utilizing any excessive glucose storage is the goal here. And then of course staying in shape, getting healthier, maintaining muscle mass, all the other benefits. And then of course number 4 is fasting. I love using fasting strategies. The 3 that I recommend again are intermittent fasting, 1 hour, like a medium long fast, like a 1 hour or 1 day fast, 1 day fast Sunday to Monday, or a longer fast where it's 48 to 60 hours. And these are really cool strategies to help kind of reset, help keep you in control, and give you the willpower. Now, you're going to learn a lot through fasting just about yourself. So enjoy that journey and take notes and learn about yourself. And then number 5, what I've been doing and what I do is I drink ketones every day. Every morning I have ketones. I usually have it twice a day. On my holiday days, I might have a little extra because I am now in a place where I like to just do a moderate. I allow myself to have a little. Now, I've been gluten-free for 24 years or something like that, so I don't choose some of those types of foods, but like mashed potatoes, I might have some. I don't have a lot. I don't need a lot to feel satisfied from it, but I don't count my carbs during the holidays, during the days. I just enjoy the day. I focus on moderation. I prioritize proteins. I like to go with the protein sources first, and I want to make sure I get my protein goals in, and then I allow myself to enjoy it. I just use exogenous ketones, and the ketones I love and I recommend. I use those through the day, and then of course I use them through the entire season, and I've been using them now for over 8 years. So super awesome. If you haven't tried them yet, let me know. I can let you try the ones that we use. It's super, super amazing. So those are the 5 tips to stay in ketosis through the holidays. But remember this, life's a journey. Holidays is one small series. So it's okay not to be perfect. Just be better than you were last year. And we just focus on becoming better. Set yourself up to not have to lose the 10 pounds through the holidays for the new year. Start from scratch, at least maintain it. Yeah, a pound or 2 here, one pound up, 1 pound down, that's great. But just maintain it at minimum so that you can set it up. And you're also showing your family and your loved ones, you're showing them the example. And I want you to enjoy, maybe indulge a little, but also do the other work that you're going to need to do all year anyway to stay as healthy as you possibly can. So enjoy the holidays.